Well, thank you very much, and thank you, Anne, for inviting us to come here and to expose a little bit about what we do with this project called Cairn. It's not that easy to pronounce in English, so I hope it's this little amount of stone you can find in landscape to find your way. So it was more or less this kind of idea, which is, and it's also some some idea to get some mutualist approach to release content. In our case, regarding Francophone publications in human and social sciences. So first of all, I wanted to tell you a word about the context we are in, just to know why we did some choose or why we do the things we do the way we do, actually. What I mean context is that the type of publishing landscape we have in France, which is very atomized. It means that very little structures, very fragile ones, that has to make choices in very careful way, in a way, because they cannot invest a lot of money in what they do, and they cannot do many mistakes, in a way, in the way they come to digital. With a strong attachment to French language, of course, it's mainly dealing with humanities, social sciences, and these publishers are mainly publishing in French. And where we could say boundaries between purely scholarly journals and other ones, like general interest journals or other type of publications that are very close to scholar journals in these fields, in history, sociology, psychology, are very, very blurred in a way, because there are some kind of melt between these different type of publications, and it is not so clear to know where is the boundary between the scholarly publishing world and the non-scholarly publishing world. So, yeah, you have to keep this in mind when I will present the choices and the access model we developed. Composed mainly by small and medium-sized public structures, as well as independent private ones. So it's a melt between public structures and non-public ones, whose economy is globally jeopardized by the decline of reading and the disappearance of bookshops, traditional ones. Last week, for instance, one big publisher, one famous one in France, announced that it was about to fail, to stop their activities, and another one just announced that they will fire some people. So the context is not that good from an economic perspective, we could say. So what was the idea regarding this project? And because the question was how digital publishing, how when you come to digital, you can preserve this diversity and you can try to address the type of questions these publishers have. So we developed a platform. It was spurred by publishers at the beginning, for ones from Belgium and France. It's not only a French project; it's a little bit also from Belgium. That was joined by the French National Library. It's from a law perspective, it's a society, but participated by publishers themselves or in a public institution as the French National Library, and strongly supported by the French Cultural Department. In many ways, actually, but it depends on the type of activity you're considering, but definitely supported since the beginning by public governments, French government, sorry, and the Belgian one also. And who began to focus its efforts on journals as a first step, because the model developed by main scholarly publishers was well set up, because the structuration of content was very obvious at the beginning. It's articles, the way to browse this type of content was more or less established, so it was a good first start to begin with this type of issue. And with, we could say, three main principles around these projects. The first one is that it was spurred by 4 publishers, but it's definitely open to all types of structures from France, Belgium, Switzerland, or other parts of the world, that have a strong link to French language. So it's not some kind of proprietary initiative or some closed initiative linked to the interest of some publishers. It's definitely open to anyone. And which is interesting is that it reflects more or less what I was saying regarding the division between private or public structures and everything. We are free, we can divide the type of publisher we are working with, more than 100 today, between 1/3 for private publishers, 1/3 for associations, very little ones, be they really scholarly or learned societies or other type of associations, and 1/3 for public publishers. And in time, what we see is that this principle to open the platform and the type of services we are developing to anyone has shown some efficiency in a way, because the number of journals we were proposing has steadily grown from around 100 at the beginning to almost 400 at the moment. And as I said, coming from more or less 120 publishers, really ranging from the main one you will find in bookshops in France to very specialized one you will not able to find in any type of bookshops, and even in libraries that are quite rare to find. So the second principle we implemented around this project is to be agnostic in terms of access conditions. It means that we try to discuss with the publishers to know how long they would like to be commercialized, or even if they want to be commercialized. So, and this principle is we just release the issues on this very last release, the very last one released, but we just ask to the publisher, and it can change in time, the duration of the commercialization we are doing for them. So 5% of these journals, around 20 journals it means, have chosen to be free until the very last issue release, because they have other ways to fund their activities, they have also type of models they can develop. Well, only 5% of them chooses this model, and the other ones are trying to define a duration in time that seems reasonable for them to fund their activity, the jobs they are doing, but to release and disseminate as broadly as possible, and then to release freely as many content as possible. And what has been shown in time is that only 1% choose 1 year, for instance, 9% 2 years, and the main part, the most publishers we are working with are choosing some moving rule, as we call it, but it's a bit different than the one developed by G-Store, for instance, which is a dry moving rule. This one is lively, just the difference between the free part and the paying one. And the most part of the publishers chooses between 3 years and 5 years. Some journals are just saying that to commercialize the whole collection and don't choose to put archives for free. It's only 6%, but it's mostly linked to general interest journals or journals that don't have a strong link to universities and the debate regarding open access, for instance. And the third principle is to be focused and to focus our efforts on most current issues or most current publications. Generally, this platform, we propose issues and publications from 2001 onward without any embargo period. This is a principle on which we didn't make any exceptions, and which we continue to propose, really to be able to switch for new issues and for publishers to switch to digital and to propose their content, and now for current issues as commonly, and to integrate digital in their way of working, which was not so obvious a few years ago. And each issue is proposed in XML, HTML, and PDF format. So we do this job for all these publishers and propose all these issues in the same type of format, a format and a structure that was developed by Erudi. So we try also to share some technical development made regarding French publications by other projects. And progressively, we implement cross-linking policies with other platforms, integrating content that have a strong link to French language as ours, actually. Or even for the same type of journals, but for different parts of the collection. So to try to share efforts to make French content more visible on the web. So it was the case with Gallica, which is a project led by the French National Library, or Parisot, which is a French project led by the French Department of Higher Education, or Revue.org, which is another initiative led by different public institutions and who try to implement also a system to put the journals online and to make them come to digital. And it's open in time, as we are discussing with other initiatives that try to promote French content, to implement cross-linking policies, and to be clever at this level to maximize the visibility of this content, whatever the platform might be. So what were the following steps? After journals, so it grew in time a little bit, and after that, of course, we try to extend the type of publication we are proposing on this platform to promote the works of authors in general that are publishing articles, but in all fields, in humanities and social sciences, monographs or other type of publication are very important too. So we try to come to other type of publications on this platform, and we began to do so by proceedings or collective works of research, we could say. It was the case in 2010. And we currently propose around 1,000 proceedings that are sharing a lot of characteristics with journals. They are structured by chapters. Each chapter is signed by an author. They are the same type of specialization, we could say, as journals. And it was quite natural to come to this first type of publication to extend the platform. And after that, we opened the platform to what we call pocket encyclopedias, which are actually ebooks addressed to maybe less advanced students in universities that are just coming to university and try to have some information regarding main notion in our fields, in humanities, social sciences, and magazines, to constitute, we could say, starting points in the platform to make people a bit younger or less informed regarding our issues, to come to digital and to use this product, and maybe to switch to journals or some research books, or to go further on some subjects. And after that, quite currently, last year, we came to monographs to say, right, okay, ebooks, be they proceedings or pocket encyclopedias. It's a bit weird to limit the type of publication we're proposing. It can be just extended to other type of books, like monographs or essays or any type of books dealing with our field, with human and social sciences. And we are also proposing more or less 1,000 monographs today in complement of proceedings and pocket encyclopedias, for instance. So far, there are around 4,000 ebooks currently available on our platform. So this project launched in 2005. What are the results? What we can observe so far, as we are doing this job since 8 years now. So did we achieve some good things or not? What we can see is that there is quite a lot of users on these platforms that are using French content, which was not so obvious at the beginning. To give you just some figures, some general ones at this level, there is 50,000 visits per day, around 1,300,000 visits per month. And for last year, for instance, we registered around 35 million consultations on this platform. But actually, to be honest, we don't look at these figures too much, because this is general traffic, and we much more have a look, attentive one, to what is going on in institutions, actually. Not to depend only on the web or on the type of thing you can have on the web to have an article which is suddenly very visible because it has a link to something, or it has some keywords that are working very well on the internet. We are much more attentive to what is going on. And it's quite interesting also, as we reach today, after several years, something like 8 million counter consultation in institutions, which is not bad, even if it's very concentrated, of course, in the French-speaking part of the world, of course. But not only. What we try to do also is, as we commercialize a part of the collection for most current issues, we are now working with more or less 800 institutions, mainly universities all over the world. A good part of it, something like half of the institutions we are working with, are in the French-speaking part of the world. It means in France mostly, but Switzerland, Belgium, the French-speaking part of Canada, or North Africa, for instance, in Algeria, Morocco, this type of countries. And many others also we work with more and more institutions in the non-French-speaking part of the world. As here in the US, for instance, we work with 20 universities, or in Asia and in the non-French-speaking part of Africa, for instance. Not so much in South America. Maybe we can have some discussion regarding this after, but yeah, we are a bit disappointed by this figure in South America. So, and regarding the type of price in which, so as you understood, we now propose a collection of journals, of 400 journals, more or less. Some of them are free, so they are not part of this collection we are selling to libraries. But most of them are trying to propose a part of their collection and to get some income coming from libraries. And we try to analyze the type of price we get. So here you have our current prices divided by of average prices of we are proposing to library, divided by part of It means this part is the biggest price we have in institution, and on the left you have the lowest price we are proposing to libraries, given different things. So the average price, on average, it's around 9,000 euros, or something like $12,000 US dollars. So it's not that much if you consider that it's an access for 400 journals. And what is interesting is there is a very big discrepancy between the most expensive license we are selling and the most cheapest one. And it's linked to the type of institutions they are proposed. In group one, we could say, if we take the most important price we are proposing, you have very large French-speaking universities, be that in France or in Canada or in Switzerland, for instance, or local consortiums, because they are putting together to get a license and by region, for instance, or between different universities. And in group two, you have prices which are much lower, that are mainly proposed to non-French-speaking universities or small French-speaking ones. And it can be between 6,000 or 8,000 euros. And in the last part, we could say it's that the type of price we are proposing in the developing countries, and to adapt as much as we can the prices we are proposing in these countries to focus on different type of issues, but not to make the price an issue for them to access journals in French language. So really, we can say that, for a French database as we are proposing, we have to adapt very much the prices we are proposing to institutions, given the language they are managing, they are mastering, and given the type of institution we are addressing. And this, in time, has enabled journals to have an average income, more or less, of 7,000 euros. So it's not that much, but it enables these journals to be independent and to continue to invest in their job, in the quality of the type of publications they are doing, and not to rely only on public funding, for instance, or on other type of model. Which is quite interesting, you have a division here between the pay-per-view part at the top of it, because we are selling articles article by article for the paying part of the platform, or by licensing. And of course, we see that the pay-per-view part of the income generated by Cairn is decreasing in time, as the most important part of it is coming from licenses we are selling to libraries, of course. Yeah, so I have 5 minutes, so I have to go very quick on what is at stake currently at Cairn. So, as you understood, one of the questions we ask ourselves every morning is how to announce the visibility of French publications in the non-French speaking world, so it's quite a challenge. And for this, we try to develop some interesting thing and to reinvest in a way the type of income we can get by this distribution, for instance, in translation program. But, we try to, in a smart way, we try at least to think at it as smart as we can. As smartly as we can. So we will launch very soon in Chicago at the LA conference an English interface, which is not a mere translation of the platform we are proposing, but which was really redesigned completely differently to be proposed to someone who don't know at all what is going on in France, actually. Don't know the journals, don't know the authors, don't know what is interesting or not in France, definitely not. And he wants to browse and to be proposed some good content, and also what do you have to say regarding, I don't know, what is going on in Middle East, what are you thinking about linguistics going on in France or in history, so to try to put forward some interesting content, an original one coming from the French-speaking world. We revised all the metadata on our platform because there was a problem in times that French journals didn't invest as much as they should, actually, in the English metadata, be that in table of contents or abstracts, and we had to assess what was published in French journals and to rewrite a part of it. Around 30% was rewrite to enhance the quality of the abstracts and the table of contents that are distributed in all kinds of systems. And to launch a program to do full translations of remarkable works published in French journals. So, scientific committee designed journals that choose articles to be representative of what is going on in French research, we could say. So, a tool we will launch this year, we'll see if it can help to make French content more discoverable. We are very worried also about the future of big deals, in a way, because this is a type of model we try to propose to libraries. And because in time it has shown to be simple, to be sometimes to be quite fair regarding access to journals, because we are not choosing each journal because it's very well known and not this one, even if it's some good quality journals. So it promotes simplicity and equity, be that from the user, librarians, or journal, publisher's perspective. But as you know, there is a decreasing acceptance by library of this type of model, and mainly, as for what we heard about, in reaction to unbalanced pricing policy for global publishers, it became unsustainable, we could say. And it weighs definitely on the development of the new offers as the one we are proposing. So it's quite a paradox at the moment if you consider that the libraries are trying just to avoid to depend only on some big publishers and to be for them to wave too much on libraries, and so they block in a way new offers as the one we are proposing, which could help in a way to deconcentrate a little bit the market. And very quickly, we are, of course, we face and we try to think as a challenge of open access to say, right, okay, if we don't sell any more content in all kind of field, what can it be? Because you have to know, and you might know, that there is very limited upstream funding. The authors who are working with the universities in human and social sciences don't have that much fund to work and then to publish. So the APC models, gold one, is not that much, it doesn't fit very much for human and social sciences. And authors don't like it very much for questions of independence, not to depend on an institution to be able to publish or not, which is quite worrying when you write against institutions, for instance. And regarding the green road, for instance, we are very worried about the long tail effect we can observe on our publications. Because what we have seen in time, here you have consultations in institutions we are working with, the 800 institutions I've shown you on the map a bit before. And you can see that in time, the interest generated in institutions is decreasing, but quite slowly in a way. So we can perfectly observe the long tail phenomenon described by Chris Anderson. But just to have a figure in mind, the content lasting for only 12 months is only representing 80% of the interest we get from institutions. It means that tomorrow, if it's the maximum limit to sell content and to be able to find a funding model for these journals, this will be only 18% of the interest. Is that enough or not to sell some packages of journals to libraries or not? We can be worried about it. And for the half-life of an article is around 3 years on Cairn, which, it's more or less the type of duration publishers are fixing for their moving work, for instance. I'm going quite quickly, and this is very different from one discipline to another, which you can observe. And if you take journals, it can be very different from one journal to another. So it's definitely a very, very tricky point to define reasonable embargoes or reasonable duration of time at this level. And it's a big debate at the moment in France. And we can very worried also about regard potential side effects this type of policy may have on non-scholarly journals, which are many, and books. So we are, in a way, enclosed in a broader world that it's global publishing and not only scholarly one when it comes to humanities and social sciences. So, as a conclusion, we are definitely open to any models that may fund publication quality, what we try to defend, and diversity, we could say, in a sustainable way, not to go in one direction and to, in some years, to see that it was a nonsense, or it was not a good way to follow, and guarantees their independence, which is one of the big thing also regarding journals in humanities and social sciences. And thank you very much.